All right, everyone, welcome home. This is a Native Land Pod MiniPod, and we are thrilled to be joined today by an incredible hero. Young people make waves, and she is no exception. We witnessed her unlawful arrest in D.C. just a few weeks ago as D.C. continues to be under occupation by the federal government. And I got to tell y'all, this particular young lady is someone who I was like, now this is who the ancestors are speaking through. And I just really want to commend you for your courage, for your bold voice. And if any, we want to welcome you home to
Here,
Native
here.
Land Pod. We're so happy to have
Welcome
you with us
home.
today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've seen all of you on TV various times, so excited to be here.
We're
Thanks
very
for
grateful to
joining.
share space with you. I would love if you would be so kind to just share what happened when you were detained, and what your experience was in being detained by these officers who did all the things, including pepper spray you. If any, please talk about your experience and what other young people are going through in DC right now.
um, well, uh, First of all, I was out doing cop watch with an organization called Harriet's Wildest Dreams. They're also in partnership with Free DC. So what we were doing was lawful and legal. We've done it for years. My experience with the Metro Transit Police that detained me, specifically one officer named Sergeant Deal, was that I was singled out from the rest of my group and I was brutalized and arrested. When I was pepper sprayed, they like subsequently poured water like all down the front of me. So like the pepper spray kind of like spread down to everything that you could imagine. um,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
I was kept in multiple police cars for hours. They took me to the hospital. They didn't do much, but I was arrested at 10. I didn't get processed until 6 a.m. And throughout all that time, I was handcuffed with my hands behind my back, either in a police car or at the hospital for a few hours. And I was getting pepper sprayed over and over and over again throughout the night, like anytime I sweat or cried or anything like that. And also the whole front of my clothes were wet. So, yeah, it was. I don't know. I feel like mentally very different. I've been doing this work for a while. It's not my first time being arrested. It's my first time being arrested in about 5 years. Um, but yeah, this one was like very different, and it might be because of the context of everything else that's going on with young people, with undocumented people, with documented people who migrated to this city, who are being snatched off the streets, never to see their families again. You know, I was released the next day. I was in a lot of pain, but I was released the next day. People's lives are being changed by the ways in which the Trump administration, Janine Pirro being our new AG, and also our mayor really just kind of not really doing much of the way of like actually fighting this. Uh, you know, yeah, people from DC get sent all over the country when they get incarcerated. There's no state prison, and we have like about 3,500 beds. There's nowhere to hold all these people, so they end up getting sent anywhere that they can fit them. And this will be Black people disproportionately that are impacted in the district by this.
Mhm, mhm,
Afeni,
mhm.
can I ask you? We spoke about Mayor Bowser and how she's interacted with the Trump administration. We spoke about it on last week's episode of NLP. And I noted in conversations I had in person with people and in a lot of the comments that some people were taken aback by our response and pushed back a little bit and said, listen, Mayor Bowser is in a very difficult spot. Why would we criticize this Black woman mayor who's doing the best that she can? And they thought we were a little insensitive and perhaps naive to the position that she's in. And just so you know, our position was if you're not going to win with Trump, then why not be a revolution? I'm just curious what you might say to people who have that pushback for us and maybe even you.
I would say that even up until this occupation, Mayor Bowser, throughout this entire year, has been taking tiny steps, or big steps, depending on what you're thinking about, towards the Trump administration and being in line with their agenda. Um, you know, home rule is a very sensitive topic. Even if they could institute a control board and not even have to repeal home rule, and they could institute a control board in Congress, and our autonomy would essentially be cooked. I understand that fear, but you know, everything that Trump asked for the mayor to put in our budget to like get repealed, it happened. Sanctuary city status, she tried to repeal that through the budget. That is not a budget item, so our council stripped that out. She also wanted to do away with ranked choice voting. That was a democratically voted on ballot initiative. She wanted to do away with tip wage worker raises. That was another democratically voted on ballot initiative that was voted on twice. Over 70% of the city wanted to see tip wage workers get a raise. And the city council, they partially funded ranked choice voting. They didn't fund it fully like they said they were going to. And they completely did away with I-82, which is the the raise for the tip wage folks. So I mean, it's kind of hard for me to feel sympathy for her, especially at this time. With my history of like organizing against her, protesting against her, like even meeting with her, talking with her, Muriel has never been interested in like justice or like the interests of working class people or addressing them or the material conditions of people that live in Ward 7 or 8, like where the blackest part of the city. She's never been invested in that. So I'm genuinely not surprised that she's acting this way now. And I really feel like if people have like issues with people criticizing her, they really need to look back at her record and the way that she has presented herself um, as a mayor, as a black queer person, as you know, she says she is. She has not been. She has not legislated like a Democrat. I'll just say it like that.
Well, just
Hmm.
because I'm going to pass the mic to you, Andrew, but just because it's people who don't live in DC may not be as familiar with DC home rule. So just for our viewers and our audience, DC home rule is shorthand essentially for legislation that passed in Congress in 1973 that gave the DC residents some autonomy. Before that, when President Nixon was in office, before that, essentially Congress controlled DC. And so, they would appoint commissioners and appoint the member of Congress here. DC home rule allowed for elections here, even though DC is a place where there is taxation without full representation in Congress. So, sorry, Andrew, you have to
Yeah.
continue.
No, no, it's like they had a territorial
Right.
governance, structure. What century are we in here in America? And that's partly why, for those of us who visit DC or go there for work, you see that statehood for DC, plates and the advocacy around that. It is bigger than a number of states that are represented by 2 U.S. senators in the U.S. Senate. They got more population. Yet Eleanor Holmes Norton is a delegate, non-voting delegate to the Congress, except for very special situations. I think she can count for quorum, but that's about that's about the whole of it. Um, I want to salute you, sis, for the courage, frankly, by which you've been standing on. Quite fearless. And actually, I don't think any of us are without our levels of fear, but you absolutely present quite fearlessly, I think, giving cover and also permission for the people who want to be with you to be with you. I'm stepping back from just sort of this current situation. I'm actually curious, sort of, where did this get seeded? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Like, what put you on this path? Because I think there's something to be taken from that and to be shared, with our listeners around how you got to this moment that you've been built for.
Yeah, so I'm an army brat. I was born in Germany. Um, so we did a little bit of moving all over the country, but I spent most of my time really in Maryland. Um, you know, I had a childhood with a lot of stuff. And I lived in a neighborhood with like really like all we always lived in like really well resourced neighborhoods. I was a cheerleader for like 12 years. I played lots of instruments when I was younger. So like I feel like I really got an opportunity to fully like self-determine, and that has really lended to like the way that I imagine myself as an advocate, an organizer, and like quote unquote like political figure. And my entry point into the movement was the George Floyd uprising. Before that, I was like a full time college student. I wanted to be a policy advisor, so I was doing political science. Wanted to go to law school, do like campaign work and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, then the George Floyd uprising happened, and pretty much my entire life changed from there. Like,
Change, huh?
I got pulled into like just more radical organizing spaces. My first organization was Freedom Fighters DC. From there, I started working for the movement, working with the movement for Black Lives. I got a job with the Working Families Party, and like I've done a lot of different organizing. I did some electoral organizing with congressional campaign in Maryland, legislative work, legislative advocacy in Maryland, the state of Maryland. And yeah, now I work for an organization called Fair Budget Coalition. So I do budget equity work in DC, which is also why like my view of Muriel is it's deep in the line items. Like, girl, your budget tells a story of what your priorities are, and time and time and time again, like this is what it's been. So I don't know. I think there are many different things that push me to where I am like now and like my level of political thought. I read a lot. I have a lot of really great mentors. Most of them are Black women. Shout out. So yeah, like I don't know. I'm really grateful. I'm really blessed, and yeah.
Afeni,
Yeah,
I
well, we're
wanna
blessed.
I love that Andrew did that because I do think that there's always a story that we have that anchors who we become, the missions we fulfilled, the purpose in life that we chase. So I'm so grateful for your upbringing and for the courage it birthed in you. But I also love what you said at the end about budgets. I worked for the Congressional Black Caucus coming up, and my forever boss, Congressman Cleaver, used to say, "Your budget will tell you where your heart is." And that's the reason why the CBC would always introduce an alternative budget to tell people where their heart should be. But on this same issue, when the CBC was founded, they had 61 recommendations they took to Richard Nixon. Um, in those recommendations was DC statehood. In the 1972 Gary, Indiana National Black Political Convention, in that agenda was statehood for DC. The Black Papers process that we just went through with State of the People, there is a DC statehood paper for people who, just like Tiff mentioned earlier, may not understand DC home rule and why it matters. Can you speak to a little bit about why this is a fight for the whole of us and not just for the residents of DC?
Absolutely. DC is an experimenting ground for like all the things they want to try to spread throughout the country. Because of our lack of statehood, there are some ways where, especially like, even if you think about our budget process, like the mayor proposes her budget, the council legislates the budget, votes on the budget, and then the Congress approves our budget. Most of the time, as you, for the most part, they've never really intervened with our affairs. But then we saw congressional interference in 2023 with our criminal code. We've also seen some congressional interference around like our marijuana laws and like our ability to have shrooms recreationally, things that were also voted on democratically through ballot initiative. So the issue of statehood for DC is so important because DC is no longer necessarily a majority Black city. It's a plurality Black city. It's about 43 to 46% Black now. Um, and it's also being rapidly gentrified. And a lot of that is because like the mayor does some she does some work throughout the year, but the council really only has like 70 days to really look at a budget proposal in DC, and that's what's legislated in the Home Rule Act. So they only have 70 days to like really try to create an environment where transformative change could happen through a budget. And it's like severely stunted. So who your mayor is in DC is very important because of that. And because we don't have like senators, we don't have we don't have real voting members in Congress. There are many things that directly affect DC. DC pays the highest federal tax rate that we don't actually get a real say on. So not only are we bearing the brunt of like the most like
Mm,
the
mm.
cruelty of whatever administration is in office, we are also like not able to fully represent ourselves as a district and as a city, state, whatever, and there's 700,000 people in the District of Columbia. So we're like bigger than a couple of states. Like we have bigger populations than a couple of states.
That's real.
Thank you so much,
Well,
Afeni.
thank
Hmm.
you. Oh, go ahead, Angela.
No, no,
Sorry.
no, no. You got
I
it.
I'll
just wanted
go.
to say thank you, Afeni, for joining us. We really appreciate your time and just all the information you provided, and look forward to seeing your future work in activism. So we appreciate it.
Afeni, I know you got to bounce, but last thing, we love to leave people with something and something to do. What would look like support for you all and your movement work in DC from people across the country? What does support look like? What would you admonish us to do?
Well, I would say number one, like definitely talk to your representatives about statehood. Statehood is a national issue for DC, and DC should be the 51st state. So that's number one. And I would say number two, for people that live in black cities like Chicago, like Oakland, Atlanta, he ain't mentioned it yet, but hey, man,
Yeah,
places
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, this is a time to really get deep into like the quality of relationships that you have. We need to be getting to know each other. We need to be building relationships of trust. We need to be organizing in a way that will position us to act courageously and collectively. And yeah, like we can do it. We do have the power to do like to do something. This is not happening to us. Um, we can stop this. And yeah, like it's just you have to be able to be a part of that collective responsibility and take up that mandate of being an active part of the revolution of the culture, whatever you want to call it. Just be an active
Yeah.
part.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you
We
for
know you got to
that.
bounce, but
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we wish you well.
I wish you all well. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Afeni is so great. I can't wait to see what's in
Powerful
store for
sister.
her and what she has more specifically in store for us. And again, if you like this conversation, a lot of people don't know the politics of the nation's capital. So even if you don't live here, if you're one of the cities she named, please drop this in your group chat, spread, rate, review, subscribe, all of that. Not just to build an audience, but to build community
That's
at
it.
a time such as this. So we're inviting you all into a space where you have a seat at this table and you can participate in this conversation. So please be sure to spread this conversation and start your own community work. And hopefully, Afeni can offer you some guidance there. This conversation, I hope, can offer you some guidance there. Thanks for tuning in to this mini pod and welcome home, y'all.
Welcome home.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.